Well, hello there, Apple Bites. This is your Apple Bite, Written Writ Ralph here, talking to you from our show here, Apple Bites, where we take a bite out of the apple and share it with you.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say where we take a bite of the apple and shove it down your throat, but I guess wrong show.
I have to say, that does sound like something the Bitten Apple would do, especially because we're from New York.
Yeah, that is very aggressively New York, actually.
Of course, we have Francis Bonet, Andrew, and our pal of pals, Mata Sorcier.
Yes.
Folks, I'm telling you, today it's been an interesting day. I feel like it's like sabotage day. We'll see what happens.
Hopefully, at least we make it through the show in one piece.
That's what I'm hoping.
The bar is so low.
Share the saliva, Apple. Exactly. Because we got to tell you how to. You got to share with you how it tastes. You know,
It's not like COVID's going around or anything.
that's COVID.
Well, I heard it was a hoax, so I think we're good.
That's what certain ones of my friends keep telling me.
Oh no. I hope that you stay at least within, I don't know, like 60 feet away from them.
Oh my God, I did it for a long time.
Oh, good.
Francis, so we'll start off with you because you've been on the show before. You tell the people who you are, what you do, all the good stuff. Go for it.
So, Francis Bonet, I work on a comic strip called Suburban Fairytales. Can see it on my Instagram at Suburban Fairytales. Also write for Archie Comics. Yeah, so, I just love humor, cartoons, and drawing, writing. It's what I do.
Dude, I love your comic strip. It's so much fun. Let me ask you something. I don't think I've asked you this. Where did you get the idea for this comic strip?
The idea for the comic strip was, believe it or not, I've been doing this comic strip for
A long time, yeah.
17, 18 years, something like that. I did take a break for a little while, but then, I've been doing it consistently for a while now. But the idea came from like another comic strip I was doing where I did this kind of Jack and the Beanstalk joke. And he's like, might be fun to do an entire comic strip just based on fairy tale characters. So I just kind of drew my own versions of all these fairy tale characters, and it's evolved since then. Like I have a lot of original characters in there, like Big Bad Wolf's cousin Wolfette, who you're seeing, and Sir Lam-a-Lot is an original character. But I still have
I love Sir Lam-a-Lot's energy.
Thank you. He thanks you.
Oh.
I can see him thanking you.
Very chill vibes. I admire that.
Yeah, he's a very chill sheep.
Yeah. I was about to say, our friend, the little pig, sometimes I want to feel bad for him, but he just does things that makes me go, okay.
Well, it's so funny. Like the three pigs were like, and the other pigs in the comic strip. When I first started the comic strip, the only pig I ever showed was little pig number 3, the right. Dumb one. Mm-hmm. Eventually I started showing the other two, but that was until like years after the strip started.
Wow. But I gotta say, the third little pig, he really, like, there's times where you're like, okay, I feel bad for you, I'm rooting for you, and then he just does something, and you're like,
straight to the bacon factory.
Yeah, pretty much.
It gets kind of bad when you start rooting for the big bad wolf.
You know what? I write him with like this. There's like this childlike innocence to him.
It is completely.
You can't feel like like you hate him that much. It's like you just kind of roll your eyes. At least that's what I'm hoping the readers are.
No, that's getting. Exactly what it is. But that's what I'm saying. It's like you got two ends of the scale here.
Yeah.
I mean, you're sitting there going, okay, I want to like you. I'm liking you. Why'd you do that? And then it's funny because Big Bad has been. I think you've actually like brought him down a notch or two because he I feel like at least recently you're starting to sympathize.
Well, there was a story that went on for a really long time. I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't read, but I tried to show another side of the Big Bad Wolf. Mm-hmm. And I think it was successful. I mean, people really seem to like the story. Got a lot of feedback on that. So,
that's the one you just finished recently, right?
That storyline. I mean, it's you can jump in at any time and get a laugh. I write it that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I purposely write it that way. But yeah, that storyline finished probably, I want to say September or October.
Yeah,
Yeah, they were on the deserted island.
Yeah, that was a great story.
Went on a little bit longer than I actually thought it would, but it was.
Did it go longer because the fans liked it, or did it go longer because as you were writing, things happened?
As I was writing, things happened. It wasn't. I didn't intend for it to go that long, but I map out how I want the story to go, and I want to hit all the plot points along the way. But it's also hard because I'm writing, and each time I write the comic strip, because it's like 3 panels, you have to be able to just jump in the middle and get a laugh. So right. I have to kind of, it's hard. Sometimes I'm sitting there and it takes me a couple of hours just to finalize one idea.
It sounds like it requires a lot of planning, especially because, doing it in like 3 panels.
Yeah.
Like I can't imagine like even trying to do that.
Sometimes I'll go to 4.
All right.
Yeah, I've seen them do 4.
On occasion.
So how often do you put out a strip? Like you've been doing this for 18 years. You're doing like, 3 or 4 panels at a time. Like,
I do it 3 days a week. So it's typically every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Although recently I've been posting every Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. And there's no reason why I've been doing it that way. I just noticed I was getting, I guess, more engagement if I did it on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, for whatever reason. But I figure as long as I just do 3 comic strips a week, that's a pretty consistent schedule and manageable, something that I can do without, losing sleep and, killing myself.
Exactly.
Sleep is important. Very important stuff.
Definitely
underrated. Yeah, it's underrated.
A one-woman show.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Francis is also a one-man show because he's doing writing and the art and stuff. So, like, mad respect.
Thanks. It's I mean, lots of people, do comic strips, and I'm just one of many people who can do it. But I don't get the people who are able to do it for seven days a week. Think about like a lot of those comic strips you look in the paper, or you go to Go Comics. 7 days a week.
I think the guy that did Something Positive, Randy Milholland, like he did a page a week. I mean, a page a day, like or something, or like 5 pages a week. It was ridiculous.
And you got to work ahead of time too, and
gotta have that buffer. Yeah, I tried to do a webcomic for a while. Like I tried for probably like 5 years, and I was like, this is a lot.
Yeah.
And not for a whole lot either, because like people who read webcomics kind of are just like, I'm just reading this while I'm bored at work or school. Like, oh gee, thanks.
But I love doing it.
Reading it.
That's what's important. Yeah.
Yeah. And I had mentioned this to Rap, but I might have some good news regarding the comic strip, but I can't share it just yet. But we spoke back at Comic-Con, and I had mentioned it to you. I can't say anything about it yet, but
I thought you were ready to go, but I was like, I don't think
I'm this close right now. I probably will be ready in like the next 2 weeks.
Oh no, you'll have to come back in 2 weeks and announce it. Oh no, you have no choice. Sorry, I don't make the rules.
It's not like we don't like you on the show, so you're gonna have to force yourself.
I'll come back and make the announcement.
All right.
Who is that handsome dog?
Lily. This is Lily right here.
Aw.
I got 3 little ones.
Aw.
I was gonna say that doesn't look like the same dog I saw in the green room.
Shape-shifting dog.
Yeah.
Are they your source of inspiration?
Not yet. I have some ideas, but I haven't used her yet.
Pets are great idea holders. I can tell you that much.
Or they're good for like emotional support when things are just not going your way.
I've had a lot of ideas of my old cat Whiskey. Or Tank of Doom.
Tank of Doom, that's a good name.
That's how you ran around the house. So
speaking of cats, without fail, there's Pumpkin.
Of course. He heard me say cat.
Yeah, he's like, you called meow.
Francis, I have to say you're amazing at what you're doing because writing a regular story is already difficult enough as it is. You got to write these stories so that anybody can read it and jump in at any time, like you were saying. and at the same time you're trying to write a narrative. So that's those two things fight each other.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because it's like it's one thing to do 3 or 4 panels that's like, all right, a gag a day, there's just a joke, it's like a self-contained thing. But when you have like an entire story arc like going on, how do you
It
plan that out?
it can be tough, and I don't think I was always great at it. I think over time, you just do something enough, you kind of figure it out as you go. And I still have those standalone gags, that are between storylines.
Mhm.
But I actually find it a little bit easier to write stories in the comic because I'm like, all right, I know where this story is going. Sometimes when you're doing a gag a day, it could be about anything. It could be about cars one day. It could be about getting sick another day. So you have to find like a random topic and just, go with it.
Yeah, I feel like
Um,
that's even tougher than having an ongoing story,
It
actually.
is.
yeah, it can be tough. Sometimes, you're like, oh, let me look at the news, see what I can pick up on that I can make fun of, or what's happening in life that you can make fun of.
Yeah.
Which your friends or family you can make fun of without them knowing that you're making fun of them.
That's what writers do.
Yep.
They write what you know.
Does a lot of planning go into it, or is it more of just like catching the trends?
I try not to do anything that's too topical or definitely not political. So I stay away from any of that. But like something if you're making fun of like social media or like NFTs or something like that, I'll make fun of. I want it to be timeless, as much as I can. So if I'm making fun of, and I've done this before where I've made a joke that was something going on in current events or topical. So like years ago, remember like Charlie Sheen was on the talk show circuit, like just making like a fool of himself. I don't know if you remember
I
that.
remember that. Yeah.
So I
I
made a
feel like
joke
that
about.
describes several events.
Well,
Yeah.
it does describe Charlie Sheen and Charlie Sheen at several times. Yeah.
Yeah. It was just kind of his brand, I guess. But yeah.
You remember he's like winning, that whole thing
Yeah.
with the.
I had blocked that out. Thank you for reminding me.
So I made a joke about it, and it was funny at the time, but if somebody reads it now, it's dated.
Yeah.
So that was something that I've learned through the years is try to stay away from something that might date your comic.
How much does that fight the like desire to, let's say, go viral and like, pick a topic that's very now and will absolutely like go viral, but that's something that won't like, like you said, hold up and stand the test of time? Like, is there a conflict that goes on?
Good question.
That is a good question. I've had ideas that were topical, but I also write for other comics as well, so I can kind of use those ideas for comic strips that might be more topical. So I've done some writing for Frank and Ernest comic strip. I've also done some writing for Rhymes with Orange, and they're typically also timeless. But any ideas that I don't think would work for my comic strip, I'll try to reuse for other comic strips, and vice versa. Like if it doesn't work for them, I'll use it in mine or move it over to Archie or whatever I can. So I don't know if I even answered your question, but
No, you absolutely did.
Yeah,
It's like if it doesn't fit with your comic, it doesn't fit, and you'll use it elsewhere where it actually will fly better.
That gives you a chance, though. The fact that you're doing all this stuff actually allows you to. Well, the idea won't work here, so I'll put it over here.
Yeah.
It's always a great thing because sometimes the idea will we know this. It'll just stay there, and it'll keep bothering you because it wants to live.
Yeah, because you have no place to put it. It's like Francis has this cool like modular storage unit where he can just like move things around, and I just have like a bread box where things get stuck.
Well, I write all my ideas down in like I call it my idea book. It's like a sketchbook, and I have lots of bad ideas that I put in there. Sometimes I'll have like 6 variations of one idea until I fine tune it until it's something I like, or then I just completely abandon it and never look at it again.
I love a bad idea sketchbook. Like those are always fun, especially when you look back and you're like, "The hell was I thinking?"
The best is like if you have it by the side of your your nightstand when you're sleeping, and you wake up and you're like, oh, I have to, like you're half asleep. I have this best idea. You write something down, and then like the next morning, like, what the hell was
did I
this?
write?
Like, what does it even mean?
It's like something super cryptic, and you're just like,
Yeah.
it's like bread jelly, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
Why did I write bread jelly?
Tiger blood and stuff.
Sure.
I just have my phone. Like I woke up at like 1 a.m. last night or this morning, and I was like, "What's this dream?" And I'm writing it down on my phone, and then I'm like, I can't go back to sleep because I just like looking at the lights on my phone.
Oh no. That also happens where it's like, I have a great idea, and by the time you're done, you're just like, well, it's 2 a.m. and I'm wide awake.
But it's also, you don't want to go to sleep because you're like, I don't want to lose this idea, because you're going to forget about it.
Mm-hmm.
Always.
Yeah.
I think my worst one was I had this dream. It was great. I woke up and I wrote it down, and I woke up the next morning to find out that I didn't wake up. I woke up in a dream.
It was a dream within a dream. Oh my god, that's such a huge slap in the face when you see it in like movies and stuff. Like I can't imagine what that even feels like in real life.
There was a Calvin and Hobbes comic strip where Calvin, like, his mom calls him to get ready for dinner. To get ready for school. He gets dressed and all ready, and then she's like, "Calvin, wake up!" And he has to do it all over again because it was a dream. It's so good.
How it was.
I've had dreams about like work emails and stuff like that, or like commissions where like I dreamt that I finished the commission and I sent it off, and then it's like a week later and I'm like, I haven't touched this commission, and like this person is asking me for an update. And I'm like, I can't believe my brain did that to me.
You ever like have like you think you've had a conversation with somebody, but it was just a dream?
All the time.
Oh, the worst part is if they say something really upsetting in the dream, and then you're like pissed at them in real life.
Yeah.
So you know they didn't say it. Like, but you could have. I know you could have said this.
It's some alternate universe somewhere. You said that to me.
That's what dreams are, right?
Yeah.
Right? Sure.
Well, according to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, right?
That's right, exactly what it is, yeah.
Sure, I'll go with that.
Every dream is another multiverse.
There's a lot of shitty multiverses out there, isn't there?
Well, there's been a lot of people that actually say that, you know, what's going on is you're going from a reality to reality as you're dreaming. That's why when you're in this reality, it doesn't feel like you're awake. It feels like you're sleeping because you're sleeping in on one of the other realities.
Oh no, do not like.
I think my weirdest one long time ago was I was in a mall with a coworker, and at one point the coworker's like, Andrew, you need to leave because you're going to be late for work. And I walked out the door and woke up, and it was time for me to get up. My alarm hadn't gone off.
Oh wow. That's when the dream starts to help you.
Yeah.
That's a little unnerving.
Yeah.
It was.
That's a little bit creepy. Oh, I have had that happen when you're dreaming and stuff goes into the dream from the outside. You know, I remember one time when the alarm was going off, and I'm like, "What is that?" And I'm in the dream going, "What the hell is that?"
Yeah, like the real world is influencing your whatever your dream world.
Oh, you ever have like a moment of kind of like sleep paralysis where you're dreaming about like something horrible and you can't move, and like you know it's a dream, and your brain is like, this is bullshit. Just wake up already. Like, this is such bullshit.
It's
Get
like you're
up.
paralyzed.
Yeah, and it's like I do not want to deal with this dream right now. Like your brain is saying that to you, and you're trying to will yourself to move. You're not even scared. You're just like, you're so annoyed.
Yeah, you can't get me stuck in here. I'm out. I'm free. Let me go.
Yeah, right. Like I'm onto you, brain. I'm not playing your stupid game.
Oh my god.
Dreams are weird. The human brain is weird.
Because all that stuff leads back to the same thing. It's the whole creative process. You know, because we're constantly creating. So and then even when we're in the dreams, we're creating. You know, there's moments where I'm doing something stupid and I'm like, oh my god, and that's when you get the best ideas.
Yep.
I find that the places you get the best ideas are the places where you can't write them down.
Yeah.
Always.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I had like the greatest title for my space opera while I was driving home, and when I got home, I was like, no idea what it was.
Oh no, yeah, because it's like pull over at the side the road.
Yeah,
On the road, yeah.
that's when you got to pull over and just put it into your phone and send
Oh,
it to yourself.
Did you ever remember what it was?
I didn't. No.
Oh no!
Wow, it's even worse.
Thanks, brain.
Andrew, let's take it from there. All right. Well, tell the people what you do, who you are, all the good stuff, and I'll put up your campaign.
I am Andrew Jess from Apo Apsu Entertainment, and I do so many things. I write novels. I'm working on an urban fantasy right now, but I also produce comic books and write some comic books, produce other comic books. So right now we're talking about Righteous Precipice, which I did the script for. I adapted the script from my first client's book of the same name, indie author. And so this is like an alternative Genesis, and then it evolves into like this weird like love story between an angel and a human who are trying to thwart the plot of the devil. His name is Lucian in this series. So if you scroll down here, you can see.
Sure. Hold on.
We have a couple covers from Ali Garza and Nia Rafino did those. I love their work. And so here's our Genesis. I gift you the first pages of Genesis right before the fall. And then the rest of the comic. Then the angels fall, and then this conflicted angel, Eric, is sent on a mission by Lucian.
It's black and white, but it's really well done.
Oh, there's an apple.
Yeah. Bitten apple.
Yeah.
Apple. Bitten apple TV, folks.
Bitten
there you
apple.
have it.
Yeah, you've got a bitten apple on Bitten Apple.
So I'm really happy with this, how this came out. Ricardo Ariola did the pencils and inks for me, and Tom Martin did a wonderful job on the letters. I'm hoping that this is the start of the whole series, which is probably going to be about 6 issues for her book 1. And then have some other authors hopefully come and get their adaptations done too. I'm trying to get to this space where my company helps indie authors adapt to comic books, because we always need more comic books.
We need more of that.
We were talking about that with Frank last week, weren't we? About like how people were saying, "Oh, well, why don't you adapt your thing into a comic? I don't like reading novels." So, Andrew, what is the process like when you're adapting a novel into a comic? Because I know you can't just take the text and just like slap it on like a script and be like, "All right, here's the thing." So.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. So depending on what the client agrees in the contract. So Summer asked me to try to stay as close as possible to what's originally in the text. I kind of view things when I'm reading like a movie anyways. So I'll read through a passage and I'll try to pick out the images that stand out to me that represent what that paragraph is saying. And then I'll throw that together into a script. This picture here is just an example. I decided to add the Wings on Fire cover. That's the Kickstarter exclusive cover, and get this diamond painting done of it. So you can get that. It's very limited. There's 5 available, unfinished, and 2 of them I'll put together for you. So if anybody wants one of those, I think it's going to look awesome with the fire wings.
It's going to be very shiny.
Yeah,
I'm a fan of shiny things.
Dude, when you're showing it off over here, where is it? Here it is.
Oh, the lenticular, yeah.
Look at the difference, man. Wow. Yeah, that stands out so much.
And those come out really great. So yeah, when I'm reading the passage and I'm picking out the scenes and picking out the text that portrays, because a lot of the text sometimes over explains what's happening, and the art can do that work for you.
Well, that's when you're writing a book, you got to do what the artist does in the art. You have to kind of like show it off. Even though I'm not that kind of writer, I don't like doing all that. Well, he was wearing this, unless it's part of the story, or I need to like explain to people what the character is wearing or what's important. But I'm not one of those writers that goes and has to go and explain every little detail because I feel like sometimes you just need to leave certain things to the imagination of the audience.
Yeah, I feel like the more you explain about like elements that aren't directly related to the story, like the more people lose focus. I remember reading The Odyssey in like high school, and it was the most descriptive thing because it's like, all right, main character walks into a room, then he has to describe like there's a huge table laid out in front of him, and then like all the little platters of food that are on the table, what's in each platter, how many servants there are, like what the servants are holding, what the servants are wearing, and like after a certain point, your eyes just kind of like glaze over and you forget what you're reading because it's like, it's too much.
I saw a meme about that. It was like pictures of Quentin Tarantino looking at different things in different rooms, saying everything that you have to do when your character walks into a room before anything happens.
Oh God, yeah.
I feel like if you're trying to set a mood, you're like, okay, so he's wearing a dashing detective hat, long trench coat. It's foggy, it's smoky. Not you're trying to do something.
And then there's people walking on the street, and there's a woman in like a red embroidered
I don't
dress
even
and
know
green
that.
heels, and she has a purple hat on, and she has a diamond necklace that her mother gave her, and her mother was born in 1852. And yeah, I could keep going.
Exactly.
I'm always like, what does that have to do with the story? I've read a book like that where they explain the whole scene for the street, and I was sitting there going, okay, you just told me all this information about these three characters, and then you never said anything else about them ever again.
Yeah, like I get having to have filler a bit to like, beef up your book or whatever, but that's extreme.
Maybe they were writing for the sequel. The characters will appear in the next one.
See, that would make sense.
It's like at the end they do a little teaser like, oh, remember these three characters? Well, you're gonna have to find out about them in book 2. That would make more sense, I guess.
That would make complete more sense. Oh man. All right.
Andrew, I was going to ask Andrew about the artwork. Do you know if it was done digitally, or did they or the artist draw it on traditionally?
It's digitally.
Everything. Okay. Yeah, I was just curious. I'm always curious how many people have switched to digital. I've switched to digital, and I know a lot of other artists have too, but I think it's probably like 50-50 now.
Yeah, I have another artist that does pencils on paper and then scans it in and does digital inks.
I was gonna say it was so clean. I was like, okay, this is really clean. Even though I've seen traditional inkers and artists do very clean stuff, but it just looked really clean.
Yeah, there's sort of like an uncanny valleyness to digital ink sometimes, where it's like, this is too clean.
But that's a good thing because it actually makes his book stand out.
Yeah, the inks for this are like, they're banging.
Yeah. And of course, you were just telling me in the green room that you actually have a stretch goal, where
I do have a stretch goal. So we get to 4,500. I'll put some colors on this book.
Ooh.
I think it looks great, black and white, but
I agree.
Colors are going to look nice too.
Yeah, especially when you're dealing with like stuff with like angels and heaven and hell and stuff. Like adding some color can really set a mood.
Have you thought about 2 versions, like a black and white version and a color version?
Ooh.
I'm thinking, if we don't hit the stretch goal on this, I'll do the rest of the series in black and white, and then we'll do the trade paperback in color.
That's a good idea.
That's always a good incentive to get people in on a trade paperback, because then they can't accuse you of like selling the same thing they already have.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's the color version of everything that was over before. So this is a different book.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of difference with color where you have like your different lighting, you have different environmental effects, you have like just different color schemes. Like there's so much potential.
I love your idea. I love the way this thing looks. I like what you're doing, folks. You guys need to jump in on this thing.
Yeah, please jump in on this and back this. This is the start of something great right here.
It's the start of something needed, because there are so many people who are always talking about like, oh, we need more novels as comics. We need more novels as comics. So
I had one of my writing friends was telling me, these days you self-publish your novel and automatically you get the audiobook done.
Yeah. And
he thinks that soon you're going to want to get your audiobook and you're going to want to get your comic book done.
That would be a nice 3-way to go.
Yeah.
It would. And also, I think like the world needs more varied comics. Like novels tell a whole bunch of different kinds of stories, and when someone thinks comic, they're like, oh, superhero, whatever, or like that's pretty much it. Like we need more different types of comic stories, and novels are a great place to look because novels have some like really creative stuff in there.
They do.
Well, the indie scene has a lot of non-superhero comics, which is good. It's just getting people to notice it,
That is always the hardest part.
Yeah.
That's what we do here. We try to get people to notice, pay attention.
I appreciate you.
I'm over here and I'm biting apples.
Oh my God, I'm biting these apples. I'm sharing them with you. Come on, folks.
Does anyone remember cross-gen comics?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like they were doing everything but superheroes, and they were mainstream.
Yeah.
Unheard of.
Yeah, and it was amazing, but obviously they were not successful. So maybe that's why no one else is trying it.
Well, it's a lot of work, and then you got to sustain it. And I think that's what the issue is. It's not even the work itself; it's sustaining that work. Because I feel like a lot of people think that once you hit it, that's it. But if you look at the big two, that's not the case, because they still have to push and push and push and push. And they're not even doing that well.
Also, the big two's model. I'm sorry if you hear like a clacking sound. That's my heat coming up. But so yeah, no one's being killed in the background. I promise. Yeah, I feel like I've heard before that the big two's comic model isn't sustainable either, because it's like they're paying so much to have these comics produced. They're still charging like $5 a comic, and like. The only reason they keep putting out comics is because they're hoping that they get like movie deals or TV show deals. And then if they don't, then the series gets canned, it gets rebooted, and they start over. So it's kind of like a weird mill that's just churning and churning. But like I think they still lose money on comics, or at least don't make as much as people think.
Right? Like commercials for their movies is what you're saying.
Yeah, commercials for their movies, TV shows, and toys.
I'm actually trying to take a little hint from them too, because I've already almost done a cartoon for another comic series, but that fell through, and now I'm looking at trying to do one for another series. So we'll see if that happens or not.
Oh, interesting.
Of course, Nat is being saucy. He's not even here. He's like, let this be the day that Ralph didn't notice he didn't send us the stream link, which I already did.
Yeah, didn't you send it?
Exactly. He goes, I'll be on soon enough.
Okay, so he wasn't even ready. I don't know what this whole sassiness is about.
And then he goes, imagine not needing to push to be successful. Looks at manga. Oh, hi there. I knew he was going to say something about manga.
I mean, I'm sure like for every 100 manga that succeeded, there's like,
definitely
thousands that... Oh, wait, I said that wrong. For every one that succeeds, there's like thousands that like never made it, never saw the light of day. So we're still only seeing the successful end of that.
And again, that goes back to what I was saying before. It's like everybody just wants to see the success. They don't pay attention to all the hard work that comes with that success.
Yeah.
The struggle is real.
He's like, he sent it late. I already admitted to sending it late. But it's there. You gotta love that.
Better late than never.
Exactly. It doesn't matter. We started late, folks. So hey, what do you want?
Yeah, it's been that kind of day.
All right, Matta, let's get you up there, because you have been busy today.
I have been busy. Oh, I love it. Like, yeah, you need to refresh my page more often, because anytime I refresh it, nothing happens, and every time you pull it up, like it goes up a little.
I gotta tell you, since we started, the backers have gone up way more than that. Than you think, actually, and the freaking money has gone up about a couple hundred.
Oh, excellent! That's always great to hear. So I'm Matta Sorcier. I'm a self-taught artist and writer from the Bronx, and this is my comic Sacrimony: A Tale of Love, Life, and Death in no particular order, which just launched on Kickstarter today. Looks like we're doing great. We've still got a hard fight ahead of us, but I throw hands, so we're good. Yeah, so it's the story of a teenage girl who died, and then she got better, and there's always a catch with mysterious resurrections, and that catch is that she has demon wings that she now has to hide from society, and she's just trying to have a normal life in a city that wants her dead yet again.
A city that wants her dead.
It sucks when you gotta worry about dying again.
Exactly. this cover looks amazing. You got to do it again. You got to show it to them in person because
Okay.
it looks even better.
Do I have it handy? I'm gonna knock down a whole bunch of stuff here from my shelf, but it'll be worth it. So yeah, speaking of going between traditional and digital, like this cover that I did for the Weeping Bride variant, it is all traditionally done. So yeah, hand inked, hand painted with watercolor, marker, color pencil, acrylics, glitter, lots of glitter.
Is that the original you're holding?
This is the original, and it's also
wow.
up for sale on the campaign. So one lucky person who would like to collect some art can totally get in on that.
And how much you get up for sale for?
$4.50.
That's not bad.
This was a lot of hours of my life.
Oh, no, that looks like a lot of hours of your life.
What kind of paper is that on?
It's on Arch's watercolor paper, so it's like the super bougie, like high-end expensive stuff because I don't mess around.
Nice.
Yeah, because I love the Arch's paper because you can do a lot of like wet-on-wet techniques, which is what I usually do because I like to do lots of like soft blending and stuff, and it holds up really well without buckling. The other cover, I inked traditionally, so I have the original inks up for sale here too. I'm kind of like a weird hybrid at this point where I do like the pencils digitally, then I do the inks traditionally, like I trace it over on a light box, and then I scan it in and then do digital colors. So it's a lot of back and forth, but it's a process that somehow works for me.
Do you see yourself ever going like full digital? Or
these old pages were full digital, but I don't like digitally inking for some reason. It's just like I don't like the kind of lines I can get. I could download like a good inking brush or whatever, or I can just like ink the way that I actually like to ink, which is traditionally. So it's like, why spend the time trying to find a digital tool that works when I can just do a traditional one that works? Like I'm actually quicker with traditional inks too, because there's no like, clicking in and zooming around and panning and then zooming out and making sure that everything looks good. Like with traditional, it's just right there in front of my face.
What do you ink with?
Good question. I ink with a lot of things. Like, if I'm gonna paint, I actually ink with like those fancy nib pens and like a quick dry waterproof ink because I like the way that the ink holds up when you go over it with different colors. Because like, I find that when you use the technical pens, like the microns and whatever, once you color over it, like it doesn't bleed, but it definitely gets duller and less crisp.
Mm-hmm.
So I use the Kuretake Mangaka ink, and like it holds up really well with the nib pen. Like it stays nice and crisp. I don't have to like go over it after I'm done painting. And for the regular comic pages that I know I'm not gonna color traditionally, I just use like regular technical pens, like the Micron pens, or like do I have my favorite type of pen here? Of course I don't have it handy, but the white ones, the Marvila pens. They're white, they have a thicker barrel, so they're like nicer to hold for longer durations. Like they're more ergonomic, they flow better, they glide like butter over Bristol paper.
Wow.
So yeah.
Nice. Use the smooth Bristol paper?
Yeah, I use the smooth Bristol because it's easier to work quicker. Like I do like inking on textured paper, but it's definitely like a slower process because it's grainier, so you have to kind of like be more deliberate. So yeah, just cheapo smooth Bristol, like the Strathmore 300 series that comes in like the yellow pack, like that gets the job done.
Yeah.
Nice. I was thinking about Sia who recently made the switch to brushes and ink, like not even pens anymore. Just
oh wow, I don't have the control for a brush, definitely. Yeah. Like brushes are a whole other learning curve right there.
I used to use a brush pen. That's a little bit easier than something you would dip in. That was when I used to do on paper. Now I do everything digital. But
what kind of brush pen?
It was I think it was made by Sakura, the same guys who do the Micron.
The Microns.
Pens. Yeah.
Yeah, there's been a good few brush pens out. I think the Micron brush pen is pretty nice, but like my problem was that it frayed really easily, so it's like sometimes
yeah, it wasn't that one. It was with bristles. I just don't remember the name of it right now because it's been years since I've done like traditional drawing. It's all digital now.
Yeah,
I have a Tombow that I like. Okay.
Yeah, Tombow, the Fudenosuke ones are like really good. They're not fully like brushy. Like they still have a bit of structure to them, so like they're not as wobbly. People have been raving about the Pentel Pocket, and I have it, but that's like a proper brush, so I'm just like, I'm going to use this to just fill in dark areas and call it a day.
Yeah.
I gotta say, since we're diving deep into this, I don't think we touch upon this enough because sometimes we end up staying in the creative process of the whole thing. All right, so if you guys are gonna help out new artists up and coming, all right, right now you're helping them because you're talking about the ones they can use for classic art. They have whatever machine they have. They have an iPad. They have whatever. Well, let me ask you the first question. What do you guys use?
Oh, Francis, want to go first?
Sure. I use a Cintiq to draw with, and the program I use is Clip Studio. I know a lot of other digital artists will use Procreate. I've never actually used it before. I like Clip Studio because it's very similar to Photoshop and Illustrator in a lot of ways. It's almost like they put the two together.
It was also just made for comics.
Yes, that was true. Like you can create like panels in there. You can move the panels around. You can cut the panels in half.
Yeah. Do you have the Pro version or the regular version?
The regular cheapo one.
Oh, nice.
Okay, cool.
One that was like $50.
Cool. I got the Pro version on sale for like 80, and it's nice because you can lay out an entire comic book and like have like one file contain all your comic pages, and like that is super handy.
The one I've got, you have to have each page individually, but since I do comic strips, it's like
less of an issue for you.
Yeah.
That's great because again, I always get these questions from artist people. I'm like, I'm not an artist. They were like, okay, so what do I get, Ralph?
Bro, send them my way if they want to know more about traditional, because I've done so many experiments as like what type of ink works on what paper, because not all papers accept all inks equally. So like I've bought like so many different kinds of inks, different kinds of paper. Like I have this really nice marker paper that's like it's completely bleed proof with marker, so you can actually marker on both sides.
Wow.
But the catch is that it doesn't like take certain kind of ink, so you have to like find a very specific ink to use on it that won't bleed through, especially if you're using a fountain pen. So it's like I've done some serious like weird chemistry behind the scenes to see like what is compatible with what. I've been wanting to do like YouTube reviews or something, just like being like, all right, here's this paper, here's what works on it, here's that paper, this is what works on it, because I think that's something that like people need to know.
I agree. Yeah, I can see people tuning in for that kind of stuff. And I feel like one of the things that that helps out, especially for the industry, is starting to explain the process, because I feel like a lot of people look at what we do and they go, that's impossible.
Oh, or other people go, oh, that's easy, and then they try it and then they're like, oh, this is impossible.
Yeah, because and that's the whole thing. But I feel like it exposes the process. It shows off that it's this thing that we do, and it's not easy and it's not hard at the same time.
It's just a lot of like
work,
for lack of a better term. Fool around and find out. There we go. That's what I'm gonna say.
A lot of testing.
A lot of FAFOs.
What I was gonna tell you, speaking of all the art again, is your hair. How does it come out so beautifully?
I draw every character like they're auditioning for a shampoo commercial.
It looks like it.
Thank you.
Because it was funny because I was just looking at this for the new book, and I'm like, oh my god, look at that hair.
Shampoo commercial quality hair. It's always on my mind. Very important stuff.
Conditioner is important.
Exactly.
It is, especially as a person who uses like twice as much conditioner as shampoo. Like I can vouch for how important conditioner is.
Well, I use it 2-in-1.
I couldn't do that. My hair would be like a scarecrow.
That's why sometimes men are like, oh, what are you talking about, man? We got a 2-in-1.
No.
That's easy. It's like, one and done.
Exactly.
With a 2-in-1.
If only it were that easy.
Oh man. Oh, but this looks amazing. The hair looks great. This new book just looks breathtaking.
Plot twist. That's actually the art from book 1 that I put in there, because I feel like that gets in new backers easier than throwing them in the middle of the story, like at the beginning of book 7. So I'm like, let me put the first few pages up and see what happens.
Dude, that's even I guess worse in one way, but better, because this is your art for the first book.
That's my like 2020 art. Yeah, it held up. I'm very proud of it. It's doing good for itself.
Have you found like your art has drastically changed from 2020 to now?
Absolutely, yeah. Like, definitely in terms of like the face proportions, like I feel like I drew facial features really big in the older stuff, and it's like I kind of toned it down and made it a little more like semi-realistic for like the later books. Which is like neither is bad. I think it was just like my own preference changing.
Yeah, I was gonna say because your faces look fine.
Oh, thank you.
Isn't it
All
funny
that
when you go,
moisturizer.
yeah. Isn't it funny when you go back and you look at like your art from like 5 years ago and you're like, oh, I don't like it. Like I do that with mine anyway. I go back and look.
Oh.
And I'm like, I wish it
Oh,
was.
it's funny you bring that up because this is not the first time I've drawn Sacrimony. I started it in 2016 as a webcomic back when I had no idea what I was doing, and like the art for that, I actually have one of my old attempts at a graphic novel here if you want to just like it's not the worst thing in the world. It's kind of like it's still very amateur-ish, but can you bring that up?
Hold on. I was behind the scenes scrolling.
Oh.
Here you go.
Yeah, like it's cute, but it's definitely not up to like professional quality.
Well, I mean, was that your first attempt at a comic, or you?
It wasn't my first attempt at a comic per se. Why can't I get it to this way? Okay. Yeah, it wasn't my first attempt at a comic, but it was my first attempt at this comic, and I had this vision in my head where I was like, I want to use these very specific tools. Like I was trying to use a dip pen before I knew how to use a dip pen, which is why the lines are like super jank. And yeah. Huh?
I was gonna say it's so funny though because it looks good there and what you're showing us. It doesn't, all I can tell is that it looks better now.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. Like I got to a point where I felt like it wasn't really reflective of what I can do now, and I didn't want to like have to stand around and tell people like, don't worry, the art gets better. It looks more professional later on, because like you can't do that with every book. So after like being 250 pages into the old version of Sacrimony, I restarted the whole thing, and people thought I was insane. But I think it was a good move because when I was trying to sell this book on Kickstarter, I had only gotten I think like 28 backers or something or whatever, because like it wasn't up to the standard of like what comics were. So I knew that I had to either adapt or just like I don't know what I would do.
I think sometimes you're your own worst critic too. Like if that looked good to me, your initial when you just showed us. Had you not shown us your new stuff and you'd only say, hey, this is my comic, I'm like, oh, that's good, But now when you compare it to you can see the difference.
Oh yeah, you definitely see the difference.
Yeah, it wasn't as polished as I would have liked it to be. And also it still wasn't reflective of what I could do at that time because I was using tools I wasn't familiar with. So that was like I was trying to have this whole thing going where I can be like, yeah, I have the dip pen, and I like the dip pens because they're like more eco-friendly than having like a technical drawing pen, and once it's empty you throw it away, you can't refill it.
Yeah.
So like I was really trying to go for sustainability and just
it's funny you mentioned that like can't refill. I did try, this is side story, but I tried to, when I was doing traditional art, I did try to refill a pen one time with a syringe filled with ink. And I don't know if you can see, but I right there. I stabbed myself right through my finger.
Wow, I see that. Okay.
With and it's been there for years. It's probably like 8 years since it's been there.
Did you use a blunt syringe or did you use like a hypodermic one?
I just got one from Amazon. I was like, oh, syringe. It should fit in my.
Oh my goodness!
I feel the same, and it's not. I'm like jamming it into the ink cartridge for the. It was actually a brush pen that you could change the ink cartridge, but you'd have to buy an all new ink cartridge, and it was really expensive. So I was like, I'm going to save money. I'm going to put my own India ink in here. I thought I was so smart, and I called the Poison Control Center. I'm like, am I going to die? They're like, no, this happens all the time. Like,
oh my goodness, that's reassuring, but also hilarious.
Let me ask you both this then, because you guys are both like jack of all trades. And I know, Matt, you've been dipping into doing other people's projects now. So when you guys aren't doing everything, is that easier, or do you feel like you're like, man, I've lost control?
Oh, for working on someone else's project?
Mm-hmm.
I love working on other people's projects because like I don't have to do a script. I don't have to plan anything. Like I just have to read like, okay, this is what happens. I'm going to make it happen on the page. And it's so much easier than like staring at like a blank script page and trying to figure out what to do, and then staring at like a blank canvas and then trying to figure out what to do. Like there's less guesswork, less brain power, I guess. Even though there's still brain power involved in like adapting someone else's script to like a comic page, it's like there's a sense of relief where it's like, oh, I don't have to think of what to put on the page. I love it. I love working for other people.
And you know,
100%.
Go ahead, Francis. Go ahead.
Coming up with the idea is the hardest part. Once you have the idea, once it's there, like, and you know, I've written out whatever, then I can take it and like I can draw it, no problem. But coming up with the gag and getting it all together and something that I think is worthy of drawing, that takes a lot of brain power. Definitely.
Especially figuring out like how to lay out the panels and stuff like that too. It's just, I think that's the hardest part for me, where it's like, all right, I know what should happen in my own comic, but I don't know how to lay this out. And then I end up spending a lot of time like thumbnailing and re-thumbnailing and moving things around, and it's a whole thing. It is a process.
The optimal positioning. I get you.
Yeah. Like the most effective way to put whatever I had to put, and like working with someone else's script, it's like they've already done that. They're like, okay, wide shot, long shot, overhead shot, like props to writers for like laying this stuff out in their heads.
Or drawing stick figures and going, this is what
yeah,
I'm
no, that's also super helpful, because like I always say that if someone wants to write like a comic script or whatever, and they're not an artist, they should still get in the habit of thumbnailing anyway, so just so they know that like having 11 panels per page with a wide establishing shot thrown in there somehow just does not work.
No.
And you can't tell an artist, you're the artist, make this happen in 2 hours, because that's not how any of that works.
No. Andrick, I can ask you as well, because you're taking these projects and turning them into something else.
Oh yes, how do you lay out your page ideas and your scripts and stuff?
So I'll tell you, my first project, my space opera, I actually paid somebody on Fiverr to do what was called a comic-ready script, an artist-ready comic script.
Oh, cool.
And it was listed under the pros, and I paid $350 for that. Oof. And after I received that, I looked at what he did, what the words were that I sent him for my novel, and what he did, and I was like, oh, I get this. And it's sort of almost like a movie layout where you say close up, insert, wide angle, full, and so you just, for me, the way that as I mentioned before, the way that I read, I imagine a movie playing in my head of what's happening. And so I try to look at that like, if I'm making a movie, like, when do we want to get in close? When do we want to pull back? What do we want to see in the scene around them? What's happening?
Do you do any of your own thumbnails, or can you just like envision it like some kind of creative genius? Oh my goodness.
And I just write it down in Word, and then I'll read through it, and if something looks off, then I'll change it to another format. And, like,
that's kind of amazing.
The couple panels and say like, okay, this is what it's going to look like. I do some traditional art too. So like some tools. So like Francis mentioned this, the Cintiq.
The Cintiq?
Cintiq.
Is that how it's pronounced? I always said Cintiq.
I always said Cintiq. Cintiq.
You know, it's actually called Wacom, not Wacom.
No.
Like seriously, like
Wacom. I was gonna say the Wacom Bamboo. If you can't afford the Cintiq, the Wacom Bamboo, I've had a lot of success with that. For digital inks, and I've used Manga Studio.
It's not Clip Studio. Manga Studio turned into Clip Studio.
Yeah, they changed the name.
Oh, okay. So I have an older version then. So yeah, that worked well for me. And for colors, I used Krita because it was free and it had some good brushes in it.
Dope, very dope. I've been wanting to try and experiment with Krita. Also, if you can't afford a Wacom Cintiq, there are definitely cheaper alternatives. I use like a 22-inch XP pen tablet, and I paid like $350 for it, which is so much cheaper than a 22-inch Cintiq, and it works like a dream. I've had it since 2019, and like knock on wood, it'll last me like a couple of years longer.
They actually Wacom has lowered the price on some of their tablets. Like there's the Wacom One. I don't know if you guys have heard of that.
Is that the all-in-one computer and tablet
No,
thing,
it has to be tethered to like your machine, like your PC
right.
or whatever. But it's like $300. At least the last I looked, it was $300, which is.
How big is it though?
I think it was definitely more than. It was either 13 or 16 inches. I can't remember.
All right, not terrible. It's good that they're getting with the times because they realize they no longer have a monopoly over things. I'm still gonna go to third parties because they're dead to me because their prices have been so high and they've been so like exploitative with their pricing that I'm like, I can't go back to you guys. I love my XP pen.
I feel like as soon as somebody figures out that they're using this, let's jack up the price.
Oh man,
sorry, someone's at my front door.
Uh-oh.
Don't let them in.
No, my wife's upstairs. She'll.
Okay.
Don't let them in unless they have food. That's my motto.
I don't know who would be here at this time, but hopefully,
It's funny. Nathan's saying that real blood and ink. Then he was asking, so how much does the piece cost now? So
with the blood on it.
Yeah, I guess with the blood in it.
What's a custom one of a kind? You know, you're never gonna get the same blood splatter on every page.
Oh man. I gotta say though, like you guys are all like jack of all trades, so
Andrew draws too. He's being really modest about it, but yeah.
If I can present, I picked out my hair is what gets me though. So let's see, share screen, window, this window.
There we go. Now I add it to stage. Oh wow.
Yeah.
So I do portraits based on photos.
Is that pastel?
Yeah, this is Prismacolor color pencils.
Oh, color pencils, nice.
Yeah, color pencils.
Colored pencils are great. They take so much time to use, but like the results are so buttery smooth. Like I love the way you always handle the skin. Like skin is not easy.
Oh yeah, those are Derwents. I thought I shared the whole screen. I only have a few of these.
Is that a dog?
Yes, it
is.
He has 3.
Terrier Lily.
Let's look at the dog. Oh, art.
Yeah.
So that's
Andrew draws too.
Microns, still Prismacolor color pencils and microns. And then what I did was I was experimenting. As Matta said, you just have to
another
experiment. And I put a gloss over it, which I wasn't a big fan of putting a gloss over it because it dulled the color pencil. But
Oh, is it like a fixative type thingy?
yeah, I used a gloss fixative, and I used this stuff that blocks out the paper, so it's only on the color pencil and it's not on the paper, so the paper's matte.
Oh,
Drawing it's gloss.
And I can see what you mean about it, like dulling up the color, though.
Yeah, I wish I had not done that because it is really dull. And then besides the color pencils, I also try alcohol-based markers. So this is a Azure brand. I've used Copics before too. I
love Copics. Those are great too. I love the way that you handle the streaks in the hair.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it's all kinds of tools that you can use to make your comics traditionally too.
I thought about it, and I was gonna go traditional, but I was like, this is taking me forever, and I'm like, I'm not being paid enough for this, so I'll compromise and go half and half.
Did you draw those like from just your head, or was it like a model that you used or something?
No, those are all photo reference.
Okay.
So I learned. There was a book I bought by an FBI sketch artist that taught you how to do portraits based on measurements. So I started, it took me like 13 hours to do my first drawing, using a ruler on my phone to get the proportions for
wow.
And so much practice, now I can spit out a pencil in 45 minutes.
Let's go.
Oh, I'm jealous.
Wow.
Still do like.
So Andrew, have you thought about doing your own comics?
Exactly.
You know what I am lacking is in how to set up the panels to show the actual motion. I can do stills, as you can see, but once I get away from photo reference, I start to like lose the crispness of the likenesses and stuff like that.
Understandable. There is lots of like action photo reference nowadays, which is great. There are some books that have poses that are like geared specifically for comic artists, and like those are pretty cool.
You could do an entire comic just based off of sketches as the detective. Like imagine a detective sketching out an entire event of someone's story. And it's all just the sketch artist trying to
Actually, a
depict
good idea.
the entire story.
That could work as like, I guess like a light novel where it's like there's prose and pictures.
Oh, yeah, exactly. That's a good way to go with it.
Never let your limitations limit your creativity.
I got an idea now. Me with detective is always an idea.
Oh, detectives are hard to write. Or mysteries are hard to write.
Mysteries are hard to write. Detectives are okay, and especially if they're not doing a real mystery.
You do know you can write a good mystery if you never know what you're actually writing.
But that's how I always write.
Exactly.
There you go. Then you're writing a mystery story.
I technically am, because there are a lot of unexplained events, and people are like, "Oh, this is kind of mysterious." And I'm like, you know what? I will take that as compliment.
Sometimes people look for things or in your story, and you're like, "Oh yeah, I totally meant it." Right? Does that ever happen? Yeah, I totally
that
meant
definitely happens.
We actually talk about this on the show a lot, because there will be times where people will read something that I did, and they're like, "Oh, your usage of this and this and this," and I'm like, "What?"
The curtains were black to emphasize his soul.
Exactly. I'm like, I like black.
Note to self: get black curtains.
Sometimes the curtains are just black.
Yeah.
The curtains look black to one.
You can't tell that to
in reality,
people.
they're blue.
No.
Oh no, are we going into the dress territory?
No, we're going into Shen thinking curtains are purple.
Well, that makes
Love
sense.
you, Shen.
Colorblind.
Oh yeah, that'll do it.
But it's funny though, because if you try to that's why I never tell anybody who's read something of mine that they're wrong or whatever. I just let them be, because if you try to explain to them what you did or what's going on, they look at you like you're crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I also, especially with Sacrimony, it is the kind of story where I don't fully explain like each and every single little character's thought. So like I like to let people have their own interpretation. Like I told you before that like my goal is to make people like fight about what they think the characters were thinking in a moment, or like just have people getting like, you know, ending friendships over the story, and like getting kicked out of Reddit forums and stuff because it's like they just can't agree with each other. Like, no, she did this because that. No, she did that because of this. Like I want people to form theories and have their own interpretations, because I think that's a lot more fun than me spelling out exactly what's going on.
You want people to fight.
Yes, always. That is my main goal.
It's funny that she says that, because when I'm on Instagram, it's the funniest shit to watch Francis's people go at each other trying to figure out something, and I'm like,
Francis, are you living my dream of making people fight?
I guess I am. There are people.
Amazing.
Sometimes I see that they argue sometimes.
oh yeah.
Life goals.
They start fighting, especially like with that last story with when they were on the island.
Oh my goodness.
I had one of my readers. He gave the pigs names, and I keep getting Well, he refers to them as I forget what he calls them, but another commenter was like, "Oh, do they have names?" Because then I just didn't know, and I said, "No, he just made up names for them. He likes to call them that, and you know, I just go with it. Like, call them whatever you want."
Yeah.
Little weird, but also interesting. As long as you're not getting like pressured to actually give them names, because then
they're always going to be pig 1, 2, and 3. Those are their names.
Good.
They're great names.
Because that gets uncomfortable where people are like, give them names. I gave them great names. Why don't you name them those names? And
or when people give you ideas and you don't want to. I already I already know where my story goes.
Let's be real. Do people actually come up with good names?
I've never had to deal with that, so I don't know. Francis, how good were the pigs' names?
I mean, Pig 1, 2, and 3. It's not very creative, but the girl Wolf I call Wolfette. That's not a great name, but
it all makes sense though.
It works within the context of what you're doing, though.
Exactly.
I do like the name Sir Lamb a lot. That one I pat myself on the back for that one.
I gotta admit, Sir Lammy, that works.
Good vibes only.
But it's funny that you're saying that, but it kind of makes sense for what you're doing, because if you actually give them names, then you kind of lose a little bit of who they are, even though like people should know who they are from looking at what you're doing. But I find that some people will look at it and go, I don't see the connection.
Yeah, well, if I called them like Bob, Joe, and like John or something, it's. I'll tell you like originally I called it Little Pig number 3 because I just thought it was funny. Like if you had number 3 on your shirt, you're not number 1, you're number 3. People are like, well, why is he the dumb one? Shouldn't he be the smart one who made the house out of bricks? I was like, no, it goes in my story. It goes 3, 2, 1. So he started with the straw house.
Womp womp.
We all know who he was. Come on.
Yeah.
Oh man. So Francis, let's tell the people who you are again. I'll put this stuff back up and you can tell them all the beautiful things.
Yeah, so my name's Francis Bonet, for people who are just tuning in now. I do a comic strip. It's called Suburban Fairytales. It's about fairy tale characters living in modern suburbia. It mainly now it centers around the 3 little pigs. And right now he's dating Wolfette, who's a big bad wolf's cousin. The readers really like her.
Yeah.
So yeah, I noticed anytime.
I love going into your conversations on Instagram because it's so interesting.
Yeah, it's one time I had we'll just say an inappropriate comment about her.
Wow.
Okay.
And
I'm surprised that it was only one.
True.
Yeah.
Well, somebody said, "Can I ask you something?" I was like, "Sure, go ahead." And then it was, I don't know, it was just inappropriate about like what she was wearing underneath her skirt. I'm like,
oh, I knew it.
I'm like,
why do they need to know that?
I'm like, I'm not thinking about that, and neither should you.
So clearly, you're not a part of the furry fandom.
Exactly.
Look, everybody likes what they like, but I'm not. My mind's not there. If you wanted,
you can be part of the furry fandom and not be like a huge.
Yeah, you don't. It doesn't have to be. Like I have a lot of younger readers as well. I try to keep it all ages. If you're an adult, you can enjoy it. If you're 8 years old, there's nothing inappropriate. Yeah. So that kind of stuff. I don't know. It's just not where my mind goes.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah. So
because it's not the kind of comic for that.
No, it's not. It's supposed to be. It's supposed to be like if you want to have your kid go through Instagram and look through comics, that it's going to be nothing inappropriate there. Besides like Looney Tunes, kind of humor. That's the worst you're going to see. Somebody getting crushed by an anvil or whatever.
I mean, Looney Tunes is kind of perverted in some cases. I don't know.
Well, let's say like modern Looney Tunes, the new ones on HBO Max or Max.
Yeah, those definitely aren't.
Yeah,
because old Looney Tunes, I don't know how I was allowed to watch some of that.
Yeah, Bugs would dress up as a woman all the time.
No, I'm thinking about the times where he's smoking and he legit has like a handgun and he's shooting people, and I'm like, looking back at that, I'm like, how was this okay?
They don't act. If you watch the new ones that they made, like Elmer Fudd doesn't have a gun anymore. He chases after Bugs with an axe, and I'm like, how's that any better? Honestly,
that's a lot less humane, I think.
Yeah, the gun is like boom, done. But got to chop. If he actually catches Bugs and has to chop him up,
that'd be bad.
Yeah, that's not.
We're getting into like Chucky territory now. So.
Oh my God, seriously.
We're getting into blood and honey.
Yeah.
Oh God.
How long have you been doing Archie?
Archie, I've been doing since 2015, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. So I guess 9 years then now.
Wow.
Dude, I was about to say that's recent, and I just remembered that it's not recent anymore.
Just remember, 2018 was 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's what I keep telling myself.
Yeah, same here.
Anytime somebody goes 2018, that was a couple of years ago.
My God,
2020 messed me up.
6 years ago.
Dude, he says 2015, and I'm sitting here going, yeah, that's when Bit and Apple started. That was only a couple of years.
It's like, yeah, that was like 5 years ago.
Yeah, that's almost a decade.
Wow.
How's it
So
Yeah.
Bit and Apple's been around for 9 years.
Don't you feel old?
I already
Always.
felt old before that.
Every day, it just gets worse.
I always say you're only as old as your knees let you feel.
My knees hurt.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because if it was my mind, I'll be way younger.
I'd still be 12 if it was just my mind.
I think in my mind, I'm still 12.
Yeah, see?
Woo! Number 65. Let's go.
Oh, snaps.
Oh, so this is one of the art. I think this is my Halloween story. This is
Yes,
from this year, right?
one. Yeah.
So I've been doing Archie for 9 years. I have a new story coming out in about 2 weeks. It's a Sabrina, the Teenage Witch story.
Oh, nice.
Fun.
It's like a Valentine's Day. It's actually, this is a one I really like. I don't want to spoil anything, but it introduces a new character called Heartbreaker. He's like this devil from an alternate reality who comes in and tries to break up all the couples in Riverdale. So
basically me.
do you try to break up people?
I live pretty close to Riverdale, so I very well could.
Okay. Oh, man.
And this
Just
was
have to dress
my
up as a devil.
yeah. He's supposed to be like a cross between like a Cupid and like a devil.
Or like an
Heartbreaker.
anti-Cupid.
Sabrina. Yeah.
That was my original pitch, was anti-Cupid.
Love it.
And then the editor, he's like, oh, why don't we come up with a name for him, Heartbreaker? It's like, oh, that'll work. I'm fine. And that's the other thing, is like when you're, I guess it was something we didn't touch on, but when you're writing stories and they're not like your own creation, you get a lot of input from, other editors or, other writers or people who are also involved. It can sometimes change your story. Whereas Suburban Fairytales, I have complete control over. Archie comics, sometimes you have to take feedback and edits from the editors over there.
Oh, question for both of you writers. Like, how hard is it not to take things personally when like an editor makes a suggestion?
You can't take it personally. It's everyone has their own opinion and their own likes and dislikes, and if the editor has a change that he wants, it's like it's what he thinks is going to sell the book, right? He's not going to make something that he thinks is going to be worse. So I'm fine with it. I usually don't ever push back.
Andrew, have you worked with editors, or are you your own editor?
I've worked with critique groups, amateur critique groups. Everybody's writing their own stuff, and then we pass around our work and comment on it.
Oh, that's handy.
Yeah. And that's a little bit different from editors. So like Francis was saying, an editor should know what the market is expecting. And so it's pretty easy, unless you have something that you're like really passionate about. It's pretty easy just to say, you know what, the editor probably knows what's best, and let's go in this direction. In a critique group, you're looking to elevate your writing. And at first, when you first start, you definitely take everything personally. But there's a point at which you have grown a bit numb to the critique.
Aww.
And realize that everybody's different, right? All the readers are different, and they all are doing different things and want different things. And my story was, I took a scene in where I have my main character walking on an alien planet and looking at the birds in the sky and remembering something that she did with an old friend of hers. Well, then somebody said, you can't call that a bird because you're on an alien planet. And I'm like, so what?
I knew exactly what you were
Call it a bird. So I said, okay, fine. She's like, you need to change it to something else. I'm like, fine. So I changed it to Flyber, and I brought it back to the next section a week later. And then next person reads it, because you're not in the same group all the time. Next person reads it, says, what's a Flyber? Okay, so explain, what is a Flyber? What does it look like? How's it flying? Bring it into the next section. And somebody's like, why are you spending all this time on this Flyber that has nothing to do with the plot? Cut it all out. And I'm like, you know what? Screw you guys. First,
Oof.
Just don't include the bird.
that taught me that nobody's going to be happy, right?
No.
So you have to write what you want to write.
Right. And I was going to say that same thing because I feel like that in this day and age, it's gotten to a point now where people have become, they're starting to have ownership in things that isn't really theirs.
That's dangerous.
The fan bases have turned into this toxic thing.
I'm
where,
a paying customer. You have to write what I want.
They want what they want, and they want you to do what they want.
If that ever happens to me, I'm just packing my shit up and packing up my cats and moving to a bog and living off the grid. I swear to God.
All right, so Mata, what I'm gonna tell you right now, obviously your Kickstarter doesn't have enough bunny girls in it, nor does it really have enough like cat girls. So I'm actually not gonna be supporting your pledge. In fact, I'm gonna start a petition to take down your pledge because I feel like you're not being very inclusive to those of us who have animalistic needs. So because of that, we're gonna start a petition and take you down.
Well, guys, it's been a lot of fun. I'll see you never. Goodbye.
Can you change all your characters to furries?
Exactly. All right, Andrew, do your thing. Let the people know who you are. I'll put up your campaign. Go for it.
With Apo Absolute Entertainment, and this is Righteous Precipice. This is the one where I have my first client, indie author, and I adapted her book. I wrote the script for this. It's a alternative Genesis, and then that's about as biblical as it gets, and then it really gets into the weeds as a fallen angel that's kind of conflicted about what he wants to do, has a run-in with a human, and they have to get together and overthrow this guy's plot, Lucian the Devil.
And there's people biting apples. Like, you can't go wrong.
Took a bite out of the apple. Look at that.
You saw it here.
So this is black and white. If we hit our stretch goal, it'll be color. If we don't hit our stretch goal, we'll probably do the whole. It's going to be about 6-issue series. We'll do the rest of them in black and white, and then we'll do the trade in color.
Yeah, folks, if you guys can get him up to the point where he needs to get it, you get it in color.
Yeah.
Also support people turning novels into comics. We need
I like
this.
that idea. Yeah, love that idea. Andrew was saying that he likes the anti-Cupid idea. So,
check out the story. It'll be out in like 2 weeks.
Excellent.
All right, Miss Mata Sorcier. Now it's your turn to tell the people who you are and all the beautiful things. Go for it.
So I'm Mata Sorcier. My comic Sacrimony, A Tale of Love, Life, and Death in no particular order is on Kickstarter. This is for book 7, but you can get all of the books before it. So you can get 1 through 6. 1 through 5 is a huge chunky trade paperback that's like, I have it right here because of course I do. But yeah, this is, volume 1, which is issues 1 through 5. It's like 184 pages. You're getting a lot of story from me because each of my issues is also like 30 to 32 pages. So they're chunkers.
I noticed.
Yeah, so it's a fantasy drama about a girl who died, but then she got better, and now she has demon wings that she has to hide from society. And yeah, if you're into fantasy tales that don't particularly feel like fantasy tales in the sense that it's not about like knights and kings and queens and chivalry, and it's more about like people just trying to keep their shit together, like highly recommend. If you like people watching, also, this is a great comic for that because you get to watch people make some incredibly dumb decisions. Yeah, the kind that are just like, oh, what were you thinking, you idiot? Like, why would you do this to yourself? Yeah, also, if you're into mythology, like Greek, Roman mythology, Egyptian mythology, whatever, wherever, gods interact with mortals and kind of ruin everything, like, this is the story for you.
So obviously you're not being very inclusive with Aztec and Mayan mythology. So therefore I'm going to start another petition in order to bring this down because like as a person of Spanish and Latino descent, I feel very offended that I am not included in this book.
I'm sorry I can't hear you because I'm too busy booking a flight on JetBlue to like the Ozarks.
Well, you know what? I guess you don't want number 65 on that.
Were you 65?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
I love how we have a side chat where we just celebrated and discuss what we were getting.
definitely.
I didn't see the chat because I only have StreamYard pulled up, because if I have any other tabs, like my attention span just goes out the window.
You see,
Oh.
Ralph, this is what your gift has continued to lead on to. This is not a joke.
I love gifts. Everybody gets a gift. I'm Oprah.
Love it.
There you have it, folks.
You get a backer.
Exactly. You get everybody gets a backer.
Pay my taxes.
I still love the Oprah gif where she's like that, but there's like bees coming out, and like
Yeah.
that's my favorite one with the bees, and then it just says bees.
I was about to say it went up twice because it was 64 and went to 65 and 1450. So Matt just explained all that.
My goodness. Thank you guys. You are the bestest.
Oh man, there you have it, folks. This has been Apple Bites. And we've been having a lot of fun talking about a lot of shop things over here. Hopefully you guys got something interesting out of it.
Always. Everyone always gets something interesting, whether they like it or not.
And yeah, interesting.
Anime NYC tickets go live on Wednesday before the show.
Oh
Again?
snap.
Oh, that's right. The second time, right?
Oh, because they're in August now, aren't they?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm like, so soon? But
no,
now
it's
it makes
because they're in
sense.
August. They already did one in December, was it?
Yep.
All
Sold
right.
out in less than 30 minutes.
Oof. Well, there goes my chances, but we'll try. I'll
Come
try.
on, round two.
You guys weren't able to get the tickets the first time, right?
Who, us?
Yeah.
I got single day passes, but I want a 3-day.
So wait, if you get the 3-day, do you just get rid of the single day?
I'm gonna sell mine, yeah.
Scalp it. Sell it for $300.
Not even scalp. Not the con itself is scalping, because the 3-day is only 160. If you buy each ticket individually, it's 278.
Yeah, exactly. You pay more for the 3 days individually.
Why?
Yeah, that's how they are.
Yeah, no. Did jack that thing up, like have the ticket in your trench coat, like right at the in front of the doors, and just be like,
Dude, I got people at my job already willing to pay me for them.
Oh, there you go.
You already got a customer. Look at that.
All right,
Customer.
well,
I got several.
Oh, Mr. Fancy Pants.
he's got a binder full of customers.
Do you want my wares?
Look at my wares.
I live out west.
Stranger.
I'm trying to go to Denver Fan Expo in the summer.
Ooh.
Oh, that's a good question. Before we get off the air, Francis, what cons are you hitting?
The next con I'm going to be doing is in April. It's MinCon, the Mineola Library Comic Con. It's local on Long Island for anybody who wants to come there. And then after that, Eternal Con. I think that's. I have to look at my calendar. It's either Eternal Con or Cradle Con. I don't know which one comes first.
We'll probably be at both. So, Andrew, you were just saying you're about to hit one.
The local one for me is Denver Fan Expo. So I'm going to try to get a table there. That'll be the summer, June or July.
There you go.
Good luck.
I know Sorcier is going somewhere at the end of January. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to the Bronx Arts Community Con that just started up, and that's in the Bronx, which is great because that's like 15 minutes away from me. And yeah, I'll have
January
my word.
28th.
Yes.
Right. So folks,
it's a one-day thing from like 12 to 7, which, you know, sometimes I love one-day cons because it's just like you do it, it's over, you pack up, you leave, that's it.
In and out.
In and out, yeah. I'm gonna try to travel light, and we'll see. I don't have like a lot of stuff anyway, but I don't feel like printing more things.
And I know the Bitten Apple will probably be checking out Garden State Comic Fest, which is that same weekend, January 27th, 28th.
I'm sorry, Mata. I would support if I could.
Aw, it's okay.
And
our paths will cross in the future
Exactly.
at like a bigger con, probably.
Probably.
Aren't we supposed to like have a fight in Times Square in the subway station?
You picked Times Square. I'm not. It's too busy to throw hands. It's then like you hit someone else, and then there's like lawsuits. And you're like,
there we go. That's the fun part. Okay, you ever played
Oh,
Super
the
Smash
lawsuits.
Brothers? The best part of the fun is bringing everyone else into it.
I don't got that lawsuit money.
And of course, the week after that is the Indie Art Show at the Great South Bay Brewery, which is February 3rd. Yeah, great place to go. Go check it out. It's going to be a lot of fun and has some great food and alcohol.
That sounds like a great time.
Oh, it does. I think I like what Andrew said in the private chat.
Oh, aw.
If we do Sacrimony the movie, we'll meet at the premiere. I completely agree.
Oh yeah, because I was joking. It's like because he was saying like do an animated adaptation. I was like no, live action or nothing, because I want to like put a costume designer through the hell of trying to design all of those costumes like in real life.
Dude, I would love to see that. I would love to see real versions of your costumes.
Like yeah,
As a costume designer, I feel completely offended. Therefore, I'm gonna make a third petition to go against your campaign.
so yeah, I can get to the Ozarks by 2 a.m. tonight, and yeah, I've got my
There you
cat
have it,
packed up.
folks. Bunch of geeks hanging out, having fun. You know, till next time.
Still hold the power. The power to breathe! Yeah, check out these awesome Kickstarter comics. I mean, it's really amazing. I can't believe he would just send it like that. Piss, piss, piss. Poor Raphael. I want a churro now.
Folks, we're still here, but if you got a chance, go check out Hit Point. They just released a beautiful video, which we will be showing off on Wednesday.
Yes.